Hey everyone, we're just talking about if only Fenris had learned how to play the melodica. These are the kind of hot topics that get pre-show.
How much better those Isengard records would have been.
Yes. Yeah. We were trying to think of the reggae guy that does use the melodica. So if you know, let us know in the comments. But anyway, apart from all that, we're here. It's Friday night. It's going to be a great show. Episode 115, 116, something like that. It's good to have Jeff and Matt back. How you doing?
Great.
Excellent.
Derek, thanks for coming on.
Thanks
for that. You're here. Yeah. And on your birthday.
On my birthday, yeah.
Happy birthday. Thank you. Gonna play Happy Birthday on the old melodica there, Jeff?
Right.
Yes. Beautiful.
That's not.
That's like at best free jazz right there.
It is free jazz.
At best. Yes. All right, let me just do the appealing, the advertising that I'm required to do every week. Like and subscribe helps us out. What's the other thing? The notification bell and all that kind of stuff.
Ring the bell. Leave a comment down below.
Leave a comment down below. All that kind of stuff.
Free drawings every fourth Wednesday.
Yes. Okay, that's that awful stuff out of the way. Let's get down to what we're here for.
Yeah, why don't you have a Patreon yet? You really need a Patreon.
Yeah, I know. I'm just not professional, you know.
Yeah. we need those bonus episodes.
Yeah. Oh, I've got plenty of footage of you that I could use. All right. So, if any newcomers are here, I don't think. Yeah, we have people that come on for the first time, but you know the score. We've each got 5 or possibly more records that we're going to have a great time talking about. Yes, there we go. The birthday wishes are rolling right in.
Yep. Thanks, Bill.
There we go. Hey, Bill, how you doing? Hey. Hey, there we go.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
There you go. See, what better way? If anyone else would like to spend their birthday on this show,
right? Yeah, no kidding.
Go in the comments. Only costs you $50.
Yep.
It's a special birthday program that we have going on. All right, let's get down to it, shall we? It's going to be a hell of a ride. A couple of hours, 20 records, maybe some more, some contextuals, some bonus records, whatever. We've each got 5. We're going to have a great time. As always, I'm super excited about everyone's picks. So let's get going, shall we?
Alrighty.
So the business of the evening or the morning, as it is over here. It's still 11 o'clock in the morning over here. So cheers.
Yeah. Let's do it. Yes.
All right. Last time Jeff was on, I had the idea that, you know, I'd kind of show what I thought was a classic like Chicago band, because there was kind of a Chicago panel on, and I was like, not that we need an icebreaker, you know, we're all friends here, but I was like, this might be a good one. It was a reissue. I didn't quite get the reaction that I was anticipating from that record, which is fine. That's great. I was talking about the effigies, right? Last time. Yeah. And it's like Jeff knew a bit about the effigies, but maybe like other people didn't. Like Chicago, which kind of threw me off. So what?
It's because Ebro was not there. That's the problem.
He knows that schoolboy error on my part, you know. So I thought, hey, why not try it again? Why not try the same thing again, like second time around? So this record is kind of pitched by the label as being Legends. Chicago Legends is how the label describes this band. So let's find out, shall we? If this band are indeed legends or completely unknown to everybody.
I can't wait to look at you with a blank.
I didn't know someone had I didn't know someone reissued the Violent Tumor 7-inch already. Wow.
Let's bring it on out. Let's bring him out. Of course, I'm talking about
Big Skies.
Savage Beliefs.
Savage Beliefs.
Oh, okay.
Savage Beliefs.
I have heard of them.
Legends or not legends? Let's get down to it, shall we? So let's get to the facts of this record first of all. So it's Dave Riley pre Big Black and Brian Gay post government issue.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
And actually, I'll get to it. That's actually one of my favorite parts about this band. It's the guitar playing because it really kind of elevates this record. But it's the 7-inch. They put out a 7-inch on Wasteland, which I believe was Vic Bondi's label back in the day, or at least Articles of Faith's label in '83. So that's the A side of this record, and the B side is 2 like unreleased sessions that were recorded by Ian Burgess in '84. Some of the tracks were going to be in a movie about this band, which never came to fruition. Yes, 2 sessions. One of the songs is on that comp, the MNUR Middle of America comp.
Oh,
yeah.
Which, you know what, I was embarrassed to say I did not remember that song from that comp, which might say something about this band. But, yeah, I think Jordan is kind of right, actually, They're not legends, but maybe they should be, So, this is the band that when they broke up, Steve Albini cried. That's how they are. He was gutted to find out that, but like he did all the sort of audio work on this reissue. This came out in 2015, so sounds great. I know, like side A is kind of like meat and potatoes US hardcore at the time, but at the same time it isn't. You can tell that there's more to it. It's super melodic. They're pretty good musicians. There's tunes. It's kind of sophisticated. It's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of almost like AOF Junior, in a way, which is, not surprising, for the time. But the side B, like the unreleased stuff, is like they've really, like it's a year later, they've like really upped their game. It's like super melodic, big sounding, like Chicago punk of the era, super catchy and melodic. Guitar playing is amazing. It's like intricate. There's a bit of twang, there's a bit of fuzz, there's a bit of clean guitar. Big melodic choruses. It's not really hardcore. I was kind of gonna lazily tag it as like Mission of Burma meets Articles of Faith. I don't think that's completely inaccurate. But yeah, I would absolutely urge anybody who's interested in like early US hardcore or Chicago punk to check this out. And it's out there. I mean, I think Jordan ordered it like direct from the label like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wild.
It's Alona's Dream put it out. You know that label, right?
Oh,
yeah. I got a bunch of theirs.
Yeah. My band had 2 7-inches on the side label of Alona's Dream.
Ah, there you go.
Weirdly Records. So,
wow.
yeah, I'm quite familiar with them.
I mean, yeah, it's nice. Sounds great. Obviously, like good liner notes. And it's still like super cheap direct from the label, I think. But yeah, definitely deserves to be heard. It's a real good artifact of like 83, 84.
So did Brian Gay from Government Issue, did he move to Chicago like Lyle Preslar did in
Yeah, I think that must have been what happened, yeah. And his guitar playing is fucking great. It's almost like, it's not quite sort of Brian Baker level or, that kind of thing. But he's doing a lot of interesting stuff on the guitar that really kind of elevates this, from just being just straight up.
All right, that's one Brian Baker reference.
Okay. Keep score.
If we hit a certain threshold, it's going to change my picks.
This is funny. I sometimes with these older releases, I quickly go in and do the maximum rock and roll test.
I love doing that. Yeah,
it's funny, right? Because they're all there, right? The reviews from 82, 83, 84. This is weird. So in 1983, I guess it was about the 7-inch, the one and only Jeff Bale called it speedy garage grunge.
He's ahead of the times.
Yeah, right. Jeff Bale invented grunge.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that he does call music grunge in the early 80s quite a bit in those reviews.
Yeah. But I don't necessarily agree with that, but fair enough, Yeah, check it out if you're interested in
Excellent.
what Dave Riley was doing. But for me, like honestly, I think the star of the show, the star of this band, is the guitar player. Really. Absolutely. All right. There you go. That's my first. Legends, not legends, you decide after you check out this record.
Oh, on my pick, I don't think any of these bands would come anywhere close to qualifying as legends. And Tim Yohannan reviewed this record in 1984, and he said, "It's decent, but nothing here grabs me." And probably true, but because I'm kind of obsessed with early 80s Michigan hardcore, of course, I own this record and I've listened to it dozens of times. So if you've ever been to Michigan and flipped through the 7-inch stacks at many record stores, you would have seen this record many times, probably dozens of times, and flipped right by it because it doesn't look hardcore at all. In fact, it looks like a crappy tourism brochure. I'm, of course, talking about You Pick One, the Michigan hardcore compilation from about 83 or 84.
Wow.
The graphic design is just ludicrous. It looks awful.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but this. Sorry for cursing. I think
we're safe. I think we're safe.
Yeah, we're in safe harbor for cursing now. Okay, but yeah, this is a compilation 7-inch that from looking at it, it looks like a kid maybe in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, saved up all of his lawn mowing money for a summer and
went down to Archer.
Yeah, went down to Archer Records and said, "Hey, make a record for me out of my favorite local punk bands." So
that's got GCMS on it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get into them because they're one of the most. They're one of the most.
I tried to get those songs to do because Greg was in Vine too, right?
Yeah.
I tried to get those songs to do a little reissue, but he was like, "Nah."
Yeah. So anyway, as for the music, the first band is probably fairly well known among everybody here. Angry Red Planet. They were
Tim's band, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
They were a Detroit kind of. I would put them somewhere along the lines of No Means No, kind of like a bit post-punky, a bit funky at times, but also came from a hardcore background. And I think their track on this is great. It's called "Make Me Laugh" and just really catchy. If you have the Gawker's Paradise 7-inch on Touch and Go, if you have that record, it sounds a lot like their stuff on Gawker's Paradise. The next track is by a band called the Enforcers, and the best way I can describe them is a Clockwork Orange core. They look like they sound like they're a bunch of guys who wear fedoras and creepers and are like American Anglophiles, like just, that type of stuff. It's really generic, kind of like Brit punk, like late 70s, early 80s Brit punk. And I think the guy actually has a fake British accent, even though he's from Detroit. Next up, there's 2 tracks by GCMS from Milford, Michigan, of all places. And GCMS are pretty interesting. They are like a proto grindcore band a bit. Like everything's either mid-tempo or like that kind of like wind-up monkey drum beats that bands like Repulsion ended up speeding up, even. And they're kind of like a historical curiosity because they are kind of playing faster hardcore that became more popular a few years later, since this is from 83 or 84.
Derek, that Greg, the bass player of Vine, sang in that band.
Oh, I didn't know that, really.
Yeah. So he was the singer. Yeah, was the bass player of Vine?
Bass player of Vine,
Yeah, he was in a very early 80s Milford and Highland, Michigan hardcore band.
Oh, that's wild.
These guys, the only way I'd ever heard of these guys before this record was that John Brannon talks them up in the episode that Negative Approach plays of Why Be Something You're Not, that public access show. So and then the second to last band is The Fury, who are also kind of a generic like proto grindcore band. Like all the entire song is that like kind of sped up polka beat. And I wish they were better because they kind of were they were playing fast, but it's actually kind of bad hard. It was, like I said, extremely generic. And then the last band is Private Angst, who the best way I can describe them is they sound like the Minutemen.
Oh.
Like kind of funky, kind of twangy, kind of artsy punk. It's a pretty decent song, but I'd say on this, the standouts are definitely Angry Red Planet and GCMS. And like I said, awful looking record, middling content. So if you see it for a couple bucks, do not pay $45 that they're asking for this on Discogs.
Oh, wow, really?
It's a good $3 used 7-inch.
Wow,
That's awesome.
That's an awesome. I tracked that down several years ago, and then when we were working on the Vine LP reissue, I bugged Greg about those tracks and asked if there was anything else, practice tapes or anything, but he didn't really seem too interested in revisiting.
I could definitely see how that GCMS songs might be embarrassing to somebody in their 50s.
Yeah, maybe.
But the lyrics are like, all about hating Ronald Reagan and stuff like that. So I could see how it's
I kind of feel like Ronald Reagan. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Full
Good find.
points for you for going like through every band on a comp. That's dedication.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is the only time I'll ever do a comp on this show. I promise. I only pulled it because we had 3 people from Michigan here.
There you go. And you reminded me about Angry Red Planet. I hadn't thought about that band for a while, and I remember liking them quite a bit back in the day.
They are. I don't want to say underrated, but their first 7-inch is excellent. Really good Midwest hardcore, and it tends to get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. It gets overlooked. Like it's a solid record.
And Tim, the guitar player of Angry Red Planet, was kind of like our Don Zentiera or whatever. Yeah, like he recorded all of our bands in the early to mid 90s. He had a small little studio in Ferndale, and it was just basically the old punk dude who was recording new punk bands. So he was great. I mean, he's still around. I mean, he was really instrumental in that early 90s Michigan scene for us.
Good Tim Pack story. We were going from Kalamazoo over to Ferndale to record, and it's the night that Star Wars got re-released to the theater. So we call him, Tim, we're going to be a little bit late. We're going to go watch Star Wars. Cool, just knock on the door when you get here. And start at fucking midnight and go to dawn. It was incredible. That was kind of dude Tim was great.
Oh.
Yeah.
He probably let us touch the mixing board a bit too much.
A little too much.
I think we know what we're doing, but we didn't. Yeah, that sounds good. And just look at you like.
All right, Jeff. Cheers. All right, Matt. What's your pick?
All right.
Well,
are you going?
Matt's next. Yeah.
My bad.
All right. So if Jeff is dedicated by going through every single band on a comp, I'm going to show a comp, but then just talk about one band.
That seems fair.
So after, we've talked about Rorschach a bunch. People have talked about Rorschach. After they released Protestant, they definitely kind of like created something. There were a lot of bands, particularly coming out of like Germany and Switzerland and stuff that were taking that sort of metallic post-Rorschach hardcore and making a genre out of it, basically. So this comp, 1994 comp, was just like eye-opening for me. This is the Plot comp.
Oh shit!
So
I was going to choose this. I was going to pick this.
Good.
So
good
this has Quill and Ambush, Golgotha, Acme, Zorn, Sistral, Wounded Knee, Mine, except Dawnbreed. It's got all those bands on it, right? And I'm going to talk about. Actually, I'm lying. I'm going to talk about 2 of the bands. Talk about 2 of the bands on this comp. So this comp really was like a gateway, 1994 gateway to that whole sort of German post-Rorschach hardcore world, which eventually leads to all kinds of great records. But in particular, this one, which I've been revisiting lately, which is the
so good.
Lucifer's Mob.
Split.
Yeah.
LP.
Yeah.
This record, I mean, this is 95. So it's like a year after Plot came out. I think it's on Xmas. The cover, they couldn't get the cover printed in Germany because it had swastikas on it.
Yeah.
No print shop would touch it. And then they tried to get it printed outside the country, but then they knew it would just get seized at customs. So they ended up doing this and just including the cover as a poster. And there's some wangs on this, so I apologize. But and they ended up having to remove the swastikas anyway. So so this looks kind of a little bootleggy, kind of the way it lands. But this is like pretty classic, like Bremen-based hardcore, you know, lumps right in there with the bands like Sistrel and Acme, Moser, Carol, like you name it, right? Yeah. And like, so they were on this comp and that other set, there was like a double 7-inch comp called like 500 Years of Genocide. Yeah, remember that one? Like had the same cover as the Moss Icon 7-inch basically. Yeah. That was my exposure to a lot of these bands initially. And then of course, you know, you just buy everything in that realm. I would say like, if I'm picking a side, I'm a Lucifer's Mob guy all day long. I think Golgotha is good and it's recorded better, but what Lucifer's Mob lacks in fidelity, they make up in ferocity, right? So I would say it's generally both bands are in that sort of fastcore, grindcore realm, ugly vocals on the Lucifer's Mob side that drift into like early United Mutation kind of vein. But yeah, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about that like genre of music recently, and I used to like, you know, bands like Mine or Dawn Breed or whatever, pretty regular rotations for me in the mid 90s. Haven't listened to a lot of that stuff lately, but yeah, I would go back and revisit a lot of that stuff over the next few months, I think. I mean, you know, the Acme LP is 12 inches always kind of in rotation. I know Derek loves that one, and you know, it's 10 inch. But there's definitely stuff like this that in this, and like somewhere I have the Lucifer's Mob 7-inch. I pulled that out the other day too, that I just haven't spent much time with until recently again. There was a discography, I think mid 2000s. It looks like a Sex Pistols cover. It's like Nevermind Hardcore, here's Lucifer's Mob or something like that. But I've never actually even seen that. And then of course, at the end of this, after about 3 minutes of just like wind, they do a cover of Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills.
Yes.
It's actually kind of good. Like, it's actually pretty cool. Yeah. It's
the rare bonus track on an LP. That doesn't happen very often. It's like a hidden track on an LP.
It's not listed, and I mean, there really is no, I guess there might be a track listing on the insert, but yeah, classic German mid-90s post Rorschach hardcore. Like, really enjoying revisiting this stuff recently.
Yeah, I think it's held up pretty well. You know, it's the Bremen sound is what we used to call it back then.
Northcore, I think they called it Northcore too a little bit. Like that Carol prefabricated 7-inch. I used to have that thing on like every tape I made for years, you know, like really influential to, you know, probably bands Jeff and I were doing in the mid 90s. So
nice.
Yeah, the vocals on that Lucifer's Mob, both the 7-inch and the LP, are just insanely good. And I think that, that Lucifer's Mob 7-inch definitely inspired the way I did vocals, especially when I figured out if you could sing through a distortion pedal, it made it a hell of a lot easier to sound like that.
The super funny thing about this when I was looking it up is that it's an Xmas Spring Records split release. And the record that Spring Records put out before this, Rain Like the Sound of Trains 7-inch.
Oh, wow.
That's like the polar opposite.
It does help to do a little bit of research so you can sort of, you know, find these little nuggets that you might, you know, overlook, you know. Wow.
I mean, I like that stuff too, but I mean, I can't think of more different records to put out back to back. I think sometimes my label's a little all over the place, but that's so
cool.
Man, Rice is the one that actually turned me on to Acme, Matt.
Really?
Rice, I think we're hitting Sweetwater's Donuts, climbing through the dumpster or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
You're like, check out this band Acme, and I was like, holy shit, this is incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, that was Acme were before all those other bands we mentioned. I want to say maybe a year before, because I had never heard anything like that, and I heard I heard Acme in between ABC Diablo and then that whole explosion of German stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to say Acme and ABC Diablo were a bit ahead of the curve on that sound.
Agreed. Yeah. And like that band Mercer came out after, which I liked a lot, but still Acme's like your first love is always it, right? Like,
yeah,
just it was creepy, right? Like they had like the E crunch of a lot of like US hardcore bands, but they were just creepy as shit sounding. It was just like atmospheric, like chunk.
It was a lot darker than any of the Pantera inspired stuff in the US at the time.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally. Yep. Yeah. Good choice, Matthias.
Beautiful.
I thought you'd like that one.
Derek,
that was a mini birthday present.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So
what you got?
Most of the stack I've got is new stuff because I always like new stuff. So let's dig into Ultimate Disaster. If any of you heard this, Grave Mistake put it out. I got about a week or so ago. Just good, solid killer D beat. Lyrics all land in the right places. Nuclear war, power, repression. Like it is solid. 9 songs, 45 speed, 12-inch, right? Like about the best format you can get. And nothing really like outstanding. Like it's not trying to reinvent the wheel. It's just good, solid D beat. Love it a lot. Good artwork, super like just washed out, like super high contrast. Yeah. That's about as much research as I've done. Let's talk about it.
From, Derek?
I think they're like one of those Richmond, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I think Richmond's like I always get like the Sorry State and Grave Mistake scene kind of mixed in, but I think they're from Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, which would make sense because they kind of have a little bit of a feel of like who I'm trying to think of. Not Defector. What's that band? Hold on.
Destruct.
That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, kind of like Destruct, but I think a little bit more like straightforward. I mean, Destruct, I love. Like, I think they do the Frampton sound probably better than anybody else does. But this band, I think, just is like way more straightforward, a little bit heavier. But kind of still reminds me of Destruct. Yep.
Yeah, I kind of usually like simplify these like the D beat things by it's like, you know, are they like Y influenced or are they more like hear nothing, see nothing influenced? Or that's to me maybe more in the Y, like the Y camp.
I agree with you on that. Yeah. But definitely solid record. One of the best things I've heard in a while.
Cool. That just came out like a couple of weeks ago, right?
Like a couple of weeks ago. I think it hit my mailbox this week or last week. That and just not to get too off a topic, that and the new Lifeless Dark LP, I think are like the two best things in recent. That Lifeless Dark LP, only reason it's not on my stack because it hasn't shown up yet, but I listen to that thing all the time on Spotify. It's solid.
We talked about that record a lot, even when it was a pick and when it wasn't a pick. We just kept talking about it.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
That's great. Yeah. Nice. I think that's going to be a kind of a 2025 like favorite for a lot of people. I think who are into
Disaster.
Who are into that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Like everything just is for my taste. Everything's just solid. Like, look, just like super simple graphics. Like definitely like Discharge kind of feel. Like not super esoteric, just straightforward. Like the liner notes and stuff.
Of that. What's the newer band from the Bay Area with the guy from Christ on Parade in it?
Oh, I don't know.
I know the band you're talking about. Why am I blanking on their name?
Yeah,
the cover. It's the same kind of aesthetic approach. Right. Like I really like it. Real simple and
cool.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty.
All right. Round 2. Here we go. So I thought I had my 5 like kind of set in stone until after work yesterday when I made the mistake. Not a mistake, actually. It was a good decision to stop off in a couple of record stores on the way home, and I ended up getting rid of a couple of picks and then replacing them with these because like I was one of them I was blown away by, and the other one's a bit more nostalgic. We'll get to the nostalgic one later, but this one, So like, I don't know, like what you, what you guys used to like to do when, if you can cast your minds back to when like maybe you first got the internet at home, first got a computer, like first connected to the internet. What were some of the things that you kind of like to do music wise, like when you got the internet? And I distinctly remember there was a whole bunch of us who, and this is kind of a worldwide thing. I mean, I had friends everywhere who were doing this. It's like, let's try and find bands from the 70s who are as heavy and as good as Black Sabbath. Because now we had the whole, you know, the whole world at our fingertips where we could start looking into all this stuff, right? And, well, I mean, we discovered a lot of great bands. Like, I mean, like, I didn't know about Captain Beyond or Jerusalem or Lord Baltimore or Bang or Leafhound or T2 before the internet.
Yeah,
right, and it's funny because I'm like a guy. I'm a sort of a person who grew up with heavy rock and heavy metal, and I had, you know, and I had not heard of any of those bands until the internet era, you know. But and they're all great bands, great stuff. But I mean, I don't know, still could not find those bands that were close to Black Sabbath. I mean, there really aren't. There might be some. I mean, and there are actually, because they've finally been unleashed by Rise Above Relics, and this is one of the most mind-blowing compilations that sort of came out of the blue that I can think of in recent memory, because I'd kind of given up on the sort of digging. I mean, I thought I'd dug as deep as I could go with this stuff, you know. I didn't think there was anywhere else to go. And suddenly 2 weeks ago this gets put out. Yeah, man, it's bloody heavy on Rise Above Relics, like Lee Dorian's label.
Oh wow, okay.
A sub-label of Rise Above. It's the Rise Above Relics, where he does like old stuff and reissues Bang and like all this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, like how good can this be? You know, we've kind of dug as deep as we possibly can, you know, with this stuff, right? But you know, you got to, you know, trust in Lee Dorian. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. Yeah. And he knocked it out of the park with his research and the stuff that he got hold of. 10 bands, 10 songs. I've not heard of any of these bands before since I first started looking into this stuff in like 1997 or whatever. This is like such a treat. I'm not going to talk about every band, but I kind of want to at least say the names of the bands and the song titles. They're all from England and Scotland, like from 1969 until 72. There's a couple of later ones from like 74, 76. They're all like acetate singles that maybe never got reissued, like, never got released, or like quarter-inch tape demo tapes that never got released. So the sound quality is not great, but it's all completely listenable. Heavy Boots from Birmingham, 1969. And like, you know, all this stuff is pretty much like leaning towards the Black Sabbath side of heavy. You know, it's not the Led Zeppelin or Cream side of heavy. It's leaning towards that sort of ominous, dark, like Black Sabbath side, which absolutely blew my mind that there's all these bands, you know, that nobody had heard of. Bomb, this is the best band name I've heard in years. Bomb, the band of mental breakdown. I mean, come on, it does not.
That's great.
And this is like just such a crushing, like, I mean, this is like 1971, you know. Macbeth Periscope, again, you know, amazing. Witchcraft. There's 2 songs called Witchcraft on this. Agatha's Moment, Bad Trip. Jessica's Theme, Witchcraft. Greenfly, Satan's Daughter. Cleman Pull, Kamikaze Pilot, which they like, that's another one that's just like super heavy, super dark. They have like that kind of almost like Iron Man effect with the guitars, where they're kind of like they're doing the kamikaze dive bombing effect on it and all this kind of stuff. Crimson Earth, Living Dead, and Zachariah. But just, it's absolutely mind-blowing to me that all of this stuff was completely unheard and unknown of until like 2025. And, you know, everyone that I know that's not necessarily even that into this stuff has been listening to it and going, God, yeah, I mean, this is like top-notch.
How is he finding this stuff? Is he going to estate sales or something?
I mean, he has pretty good connections, you know, from being in Cathedral and having a record store. And so, you know, I'm assuming a lot of these people went to him, you know, with this stuff. It's just crazy. I mean, you know, it makes sense that, you know, Black Sabbath, you know, there would be a bunch of bands that were influenced by Black Sabbath, but no, 1969, 1771 to be kind of doing a Black Sabbath-y kind of a thing is pretty awesome. So I mean, this is really recommended to people who are super curious about the deep underground of like early 70s heavy rock. It's a 100% recommendation if you're into that
Awesome
Yeah,
stuff.
especially 1969. Did Sabbath even have an LP out then?
They were around and they were called Earth, and it kind of still like it has that bluesiness in there, but it's dark blues. You know, it's not like that kind of cream, like I said, not that cream.
Yeah,
they're doing the dark. You know, it's dark, man. It's like
I think Jesse's accusing Lee Dorian of creating all these bands via AI.
no. Well, he didn't. You know what? It did cross my mind for about 10 seconds. It's not even AI. Just it was a bunch of like fake bands, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like one of these bands was going to have a record out on Decca, like a full LP. See, Heavy Boots. There you go. They existed. Heavy Boots. There's flyers in here too. I think one of these bands played with what's the name of that band that was pre Alex Harvey, Tear Gas. That was like pre sensational Alex Harvey band. The Heavy Boots played with them like back in like 1970. But there you go.
That's awesome. Wait, you said Tear Gas?
Yeah, the pre Alex Harvey band, Tear Gas. Yeah.
Is that Tear Gas band from Australia too?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're nothing like that.
Nothing like that. That's amazing.
Yeah, people are excited about this. I had to show it today. I played it like 3 times last night, and
solid.
Yeah, that's my second pick. Definitely not AI. Don't be cheeky. All right, all right, Jeff. What's your second?
All right. So, what if I were to tell you that one of the most epic stadium crust anthems came out in the late 80s from the UK, and it makes tragedy sound like no effects. It's just like the most epic D beats. This stuff makes it's up there with Death Side in terms of like melodic guitar solos. Oh wait no. I should probably warn you that this epic stadium crust song I'm telling you about was completely composed on a Casio keyboard that looks kind of like this. Remember these from the mid 80s? It was like one of those little Casio keyboards that you hit the demo button. And the record I'm talking about is a record called Capitalism is a Disease by Active Minds.
Oh,
okay. This is one of the most hilarious records, but actually pretty fucking good. Crust, kind of a D-beat anthem, but composed entirely on a Casio SK1 and then sped up. I think they recorded it and then sped it up. It has like crazy Rick Wakeman level like keyboard solos in it that sound sort of like a Death Side guitar solo or something. And what's really funny is that there's not a single Active Minds song that sounds anything like that, except for this one that they made on a Casio keyboard. I swear to God, it rips. It's called Take a Straight Look at a Crooked World is the name of the track.
There we go.
It's one of about 10 songs on this record, but it is super fucking epic and like brilliant, great hardcore song. Like I said, a proto stadium crust anthem, but done on a Casio keyboard. The rest of the record's not bad. The rest of the record is sort of like funeral oration or Warm. It sounds like it would have been on that I've Got an Attitude Problem compilation. Like that really raw, kind of grimy, poorly recorded, fast hardcore from the mid to late 80s.
Best song ever.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody agrees with me. It's seriously an incredible track. Like
definitely the best Active Minds song. That's about as far
by
as
far the best. It's about 10 times better than any song that they ever did. Otherwise.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I have way too many Active Minds records, and I don't have that one, so I'm missing out.
It's really the only one you need. And it's also
a lot of misses for me then, I guess.
What was their band before Active Minds?
Satanic Malfunctions?
No, it was
Oh.
before even that. They
Okay.
had a 7-inch SAS.
SAS, yeah. Suave and Sophisticated.
Yeah,
Like you.
is. Yeah, there's an SAS cover on this record. They cover Gunrunner by SAS, and they just speed it up a little bit, but that's one of the best SAS songs. So I would say, yeah, if you feel the need to own anything by Active Minds, make it this record.
Yeah, and then
It has the Casio D-Beat Epic, and then the rest of the tracks are some of their better sounding stuff too. So
yeah,
excellent.
Wow, that's man. I haven't thought about that song in a long time, but
it is. Yeah, it's a historical curiosity, that's for sure.
Wow.
And I don't think anyone else ever did a song like that again, either.
They should just do an album of all songs like that.
They should have, yeah. That was the. They didn't realize that they found a niche that like people on message boards like me would have raved about. Because I remember that was like that song was somewhat like on message boards when I hung out in the early 2000s. That track was also celebrated at the time.
Yes.
So it definitely made an impression on people, that's for sure.
Yeah. Nice. Beautiful. All right. Matt, what's your next pick?
Right. All right. So, I'll do this one, I guess. There are 3 records that I always in my mind, if I think of one, I think of the other 2 immediately. They just sort of, they're not related necessarily. Well, maybe there's a geographical location connection for a few of them, but when and these are all early 80s, like classic hardcore records. And it's primarily like the FU's My America, Jerry's Kids, Is This My World? And then this 12-inch. And to me, like when I hear one of them, I immediately want to go listen to the other 2. They just, I don't know if I got them all around the same time or if I was exposed to them around the same time. But this is a band, they formed in the late, I think very, very late 1970s. I think they were probably on like the bleeding edge of early California hardcore, from Hayward, California, just outside of San Francisco. They had a 7-inch before this in 1981. This is their first 12-inch, the Social.
Oh, hell yeah! Oh yeah! Really,
I absolutely love this record. This record. So this is that era of hardcore where the people playing it, they didn't grow up learning how to play instruments, listening to hardcore. They grew up listening to Zeppelin or whatever, right?
Yes. Exactly.
So they're all incredibly good musicians, but playing in this, relatively new, stripped down, raw, harsh style. So like, it's that it really is like maybe the first or 1.5 generation of that style of hardcore. I'm not a huge Social Unrest fan after this. Like I never really paid too much attention. I mean, Making Room for Youth is a great 7-inch. This is a great 12-inch. After that, I kind of fall off with them. I believe like a majority of, if not all of their records were released on their own label. Like Libertine, I think was the Social Unrest label. This was produced by East Bay Ray of the Dead Kennedys. It's got 6 just absolute early 80s hardcore rippers. And then it's got this one weird track on it, I Love You, which kind of sounds like a little PIL-ish at times, I want to say, like slowed down kind of ripper. This is one of my all-time favorite early 80s records. It's in the top 10 or 15 easily, and like I would put it up there, like for me, Jerry's Kids, FUs, all that early stuff is just perfect, like for what it is. And I didn't realize when I was looking into this too, but the singer actually played bass on a few tracks on UK Decay's For the Madmen, I want to say, which I don't really know what the connection is there. Maybe it's label related. Or
that record still has like that record doesn't have Jason Honea singing it, right?
This one?
It has the original singer singing it. No, that has Jason Honea singing it, right?
I don't know if it lists him by his real name. I think it's Cretan something.
Okay, that's the original singer. Yes. Then they change singers after later.
KOS. Yeah. Yeah, but this is one of my favorites for sure.
It's
And
amazing.
like, yeah, it's I don't hear a lot of people talk about them all that much, and I think their later output's a little watered down. I mean, some people like it, but to me, you like it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to chime in and say I'm the same with this band as I am with Government Issue. I like all the early stuff, but then I really, really like You and Crash, and I really like Before the Fall. And
Before the Fall. Yeah, I can get with some of Before the Fall.
They're super long though. They're really long, like records, and they kind of drag on. They have like some of these like very slow, almost ballady songs, and they got like Jason singing now. He's a very melodic, like very technically good singer. But I love all that stuff. I can see why a lot of people don't like it. It's quite a big change from the other.
And I would say generally, I'm not that much of a California hardcore person. Growing up in the Midwest, I was always more DC, Midwest. But there are certain bands from that California realm, like Code of Honor and Social Unrest and stuff like that, that do it so well that I can forgive them for being from California. So.
And there's another record from like 80. It's like 87, 88 maybe, which is even more melodic. And I love that record too. And I'm blanking on the title right now. It's got a Buzzcocks cover on there, which doesn't need to be on there. But they go even further into sort of melodic, like almost like melancholy kind of dark territory. I like mentally. I like that record too. But I think they are an underrated band in the US hardcore.
And I think this record, while it's like really proficient in what they're doing, it's also got that like really kind of dirty early 80s recording that really lends to like the impact that this record always had on me. Like, had this record been recorded really clean and I would not be thinking about it probably, but the combination of like quality playing and sort of that buzzsaw-y kind of early 80s hardcore recording is just perfect.
It's also, I think it's way more melodic than most of the early hardcore stuff too. It's a lot catchier than
it's super catchy. Yeah.
That. Like, there's not a lot of what year is that from? 81?
Yeah, 82, I think. 81.
Yeah, there's not really too many, that are as catchy as that. Like maybe Zero Boys and a few others, but not that much. Not that many.
Yeah, like the chorus to like Red, White, and Blue and all that stuff. It's really kind of swingy in a way, like groovy, swingy. Yeah, it's good. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Beautiful. That's great. That's it. Yeah, he did go on to Sam I Am. That's it.
Yeah, he did.
All right, Derek, what's your
all right. So next up, this one's been in constant rotation for maybe the last 15 years. It's probably been on the show a dozen times, but I don't give a shit. Chance Sound Pollution, and I think Yannick Feral Ward might have put it out, repressed it. Saw him in Pittsburgh last summer at Skullfest. Did not disappoint. Meanwhile, same shit, New Millennium. One of the best records ever, in my opinion. So I was saying original. This one's Sound Pollution. I think Feral Ward did a repress of it, if I'm not mistaken. But just every song on here is a total ripper. Perfect blend, like good, hard D-beat, lots of catchy riffs, lots of good vocals in it. Not much else needs to be said about it. Just good, solid record. Yep.
Yeah, that band, they came along kind of when I was getting out of that style, but I remember their first record being great.
Yeah. To me, like as not a super like D-beat enthusiast, like Dischange and Meanwhile, those two bands are sort of the best two of the like modern era of D-beat. I think they just know what to do with the sound. And
Dischange are fucking great.
Yeah. So they were saying we went to Skullfest because they played last year, and I'd never seen them, and they totally delivered. And if I'm not mistaken, they did Dischange songs also. Oh, wow. I might be wrong on that, but I think they did. But like,
it's just the same band. They just changed the name.
Yeah, right. I can never get like them all, like Yallo and those guys are like a million different bands that rolled over, but man, it all just ripped. Like super solid, straightforward. It's really, really good. Guitar player was wearing like Birkenstocks while just ripping. It was awesome.
They don't care. It's like
you don't care. You don't let the music speak for itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that record hasn't been shown. We've definitely talked about Meanwhile. I like that. I think like my personal favorite is Road to Hell, but there's not much in it. But there's not much in it between that one and that one. But
like Road to Hell, like that's a very close second to me.
Right,
I think part of it with Same Shit New Millennium is just the first time I was exposed. I was a friend of mine in New York I was visiting, and she was like, have you heard this? Put it on. I was just like, oh, this is like, it was something really new that stuck with me at that point. But like Road to Hell is really good. A close second for me. Yeah.
They just have the knack of like making, not necessarily like super fresh. I mean, they write kind of catchy songs within the framework of D beat. I don't know.
Really catchy, right? Like to me, they're somewhat similar to like Totalitar in the sense that you're like, all right, how many more times can you play this riff like this and it still seems unique? And then they do it again, you know, like over and over. It's like, oh yeah, that's a really catchy riff. And then like, yeah.
That's not easy to do, you know. In a oversaturated genre like D beat, it's kind of hard to stand out, you know.
Yeah.
I just yesterday, just listened to the Disc Change Excrement of War split 7-inch for the first time in a while, and that is so good.
Is that song like after War Scars? Is that on that, or is that on the split with the other one? That's on the split with Excrement of War. That song is the best D beat song of like the last like however many years.
Oh shit! All right, if you're seeing this comment, because remember Rachel and I were up in the balcony watching. Meanwhile, and Rachel's now saying he's wearing sandals because he ran over his foot with a long fucking punk. Thanks, Rach.
Wow.
Yeah. Cool.
That is hardcore.
Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Cheers, everyone. Round 3. We kind of mentioned Xmas records a little bit, right?
Yeah, we did.
But from the like mid the sort of 90s. But this record that I'm going to show takes me back to Xmas, but earlier, like maybe 87, 88, when a lot of the German bands and European bands had kind of stopped playing straightforward hardcore and kind of were doing other things. This record isn't from Germany. It's not from 88, but it gives me those same feelings when I listen to it. It kind of takes me back to that era. Life, but how to live it.
Yes.
It's not the band I'm going to talk about. But bear with me here. Bear with me. You'll like this. You'll like this. I mean, a lot of people may or may not know that there is life after life, but how to live it. Specifically, Katya, the singer, has been doing this other band called Castro that I did not know about until pretty recently. I saw the record, turned it over, and kind of recognized the name on the back of the record and some more Norwegian names, and was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna take a chance on this one. So I bought it, and here it is. It's the first LP by Castro. It came out in 2014 on Kong Tiki Records and Boss Tunage. I mean, it just takes me back to like that era when like bands in Germany and like on Xmas and We Bite Records were kind of like doing. I'm not going to call it post-hardcore because they weren't thinking like that. It's just bands that were kind of getting tired of playing hardcore and wanted to do other things. And this does have like a couple, 2 or 3 kind of hardcore speed songs on it, but for the most part, it stays in that kind of mid-paced groove. And I'm not afraid to use the word groove. It has a lot of things that when you say them, you'll be like, oh man, this sounds horrible, but it just works. It's kind of metallic. Okay, I'm going to use this record as reference. If anybody remembers this record, specifically when it first came out, and maybe you were surprised by it, I'm talking about like this record, this Sperm Birds record. The first song, Melt the Ice, was a big departure. It has like big spaces between the riffs, and it's slow, and it's kind of funky and groovy. This record has like quite a bit of that going on, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And she's an amazing singer. There's a couple of songs that sound like 80s era, like synth rush, but played by punks. Again, what could be better than that? I can't think of anything like better than 80s like synth. But all these things come together just to make this fucking great, like melodic punk record. You know, at its heart, it's a great melodic punk record. And Norwegian punk bands have always been known for their guitar playing. Even like the hardcore bands have always had like so much hate. Always like ripping guitar players. This band is like no exception. Remember that band Angor What? They all were
yes. Oh, that band's great.
this band has like 2 members of that band as well. So you've got the singer,
the old Children of the Revolutions band.
Yeah, so you've got Katya from Life But How to Live It on the vocals, doing like mid-paced, like kind of hard rocking, like melodic punk. Just a great, like very like European sounding, like 1988 like punk record with other things going on. And it's amazing. I play this record to death. I think it's amazing.
Another thing I was just listening to the other day was the Angkor Wat LP.
Okay.
So this is half of that band, basically.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll have to check it out.
I just love like Norwegian hardcore, and this isn't hardcore. It's a punk rock record, but it just has that amazing, intricate, kind of slight like How to Live It had. They had that too. Those intricate guitar magic like going on in all their songs. That's here too. You get that here too. But she's one of the best, one of the great punk singers as well. And underneath sort of the hard rock, there's this really good like melodic like punk records. I'm sure it's in your local like $10 bin.
Oh yeah.
They have another record too. This is their first one. I think this is the best one. But Castro.
That's a good find.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'm
a
big fan of Life and How to Live It.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe didn't know that like she had this other, and I think they're still active. I think so.
Oh, okay.
They're still playing shows and stuff.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Life and How to Live It on the group the other day, and how stupid that 12-inch was that had the same thing on both sides.
Yes, that was an Evolution thing, wasn't it? I think maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the purple record cover.
Yes.
With the
Yeah.
That's like one of my wife's favorite records. I'm like, I don't understand.
Oh, I love that. I love that record.
I love it. I don't like the fact that they just put the same songs on both sides. But what are you going to do? It's not. It's not the end of the world. You get to hear the same songs twice, Derek, on the record you don't like. All right.
I don't know how you can't like that record.
Yeah, I get how people don't like it. It's kind of complicated. It's kind of a lot of like melodies that kind of take a while to kind of reveal themselves.
Yeah, I'll have to go back to it. I remember listening to it and thinking it was like the Donuts or something like that.
Oh my God, you can't. No,
right?
So much.
Remember the Donuts, right?
So much. Oh God, yeah.
That's at St. Andrews in the basement. Them and Snapcase. Remember?
Yeah, I saw them. I think I definitely saw Donuts.
We've had some Donuts talk. We've had some Donuts talk. Daniel, who's in the chat, is a big Donuts fan, but I haven't got to the Donuts yet. I mean, I might look like I have, but I haven't. So.
Isn't Donuts like pre the Vicious?
Yeah, it's So,
yeah.
All right, Jeff, are we getting to the pick that was inspired by one of my picks yet, or is that?
We're right there. We are right there. So,
all right, there you go.
This band, I'm not going to be. Nobody's going to learn anything new from this. I have been listening to this.
You never know.
Nonstop, because Mike posted their second LP. So this band is one of the few, if only, bands that is brutal, fast hardcore, and also super, super catchy and melodic. They're one of the only bands that pull that off. I'm talking, of course, about the one and only Stupids. Peruvian Vacation. I'm pretty sure we were listening to this record when Ottawa was around. I remember Justin. And it's like I said, it's every song. Well, maybe not every song. The Peruvian Vacation itself.
Yeah, they always have a couple of sillies.
There's a couple of silly tracks on here, but every song that's not a complete joke is the cover of Born to Run is not very good. Yeah, the cover of Born to Run and then the title track are both pretty crappy, but everything else, like I Scream Inside and So Much Fun, basically every song on here is both super fast and super catchy. They didn't really make
the yellow cover too.
Yeah, this is the Toxic Shock pressing.
There's a bunch of different, like there's like blue, there's yellow, there's purple, there's a whole bunch of them that see.
Peruvian Vacation was mid 80s, right? It was one of the
85.
first. It
85.
was one of the first things I like when I was getting into hardcore. Like I bought it on cassette somewhere, like at probably Harmony House or something, and
Yeah.
I only ever had it on cassette for like up until probably like the early 90s.
Yeah, I think Peruvian Vacation is one of the first records, one of the earliest records with a blast beat on it.
Paul, I don't think you're allowed to say the name of their second record in public anymore.
We're not now. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think the song the Pit on Peruvian Vacation is pretty early song to have a blast beat on it, I guess.
I think we had a little bit of a convo about like most people prefer that record, but predictably, I prefer the one that Paul was talking about.
RP.
RP.
Yeah.
It just has like those super massive melodic songs, like on it that something's
I
got
would
to
say
give.
if RP had a dirtier sound, I would love it.
Yeah, it's big sound, big production.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Peruvian Vacation is really raw
Yeah.
and kind of nasty sounding, along with like the Violent Nun 7.
Yes.
Yeah, the Violent Nun 7 is great. Yeah.
Also super raw.
The Peel sessions are amazing too, but
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like RP, but I do love the Peel sessions, which are also very big and clean sounding. But for some reason, I like them better.
Yeah, Peel sessions are always good. Yeah, I mean, I used to go and see them all the time. Untouchable. Tommy Stupid is just a phenomenal drummer. They had the knack of writing like super fast hardcore that was like unbelievably catchy. Just amazing. But I mean, they were very American sounding for a bunch of boys from Ipswich, but
yeah.
Retired Picnic.
Yeah, Retired Picnic. Yeah.
That was what it was called. Yes, Retired Picnic was the second.
Yeah. Were they one of the first UK bands to sound American?
I mean, no. I have I did, well, American hardcore, maybe, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I just got a couple of records that are UK punk that sound very New York, but maybe for hardcore, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because you'd always, I remember like that AYS 7-inch came out around the same time as Peruvian Vacation, which was also very American hardcore sounding.
Super Minor Threat sounding, or they cover Minor Threat.
Yeah, they cover Minor Threat, and it's a very, very US hardcore sounding. I think that's probably the same year as Peruvian Vacation.
Yeah, for me, like the Stupids just like stand head and shoulders above most of the bands of the era. Like to me, and someone, I used to go and see them a lot too, with like Ripcord and Heresy and all the other bands. But they were so good live too at that time.
Yeah, I think they definitely wrote better songs than Ripcord and Heresy, the other fast bands.
Yes, I agree. But nice. Love the Stupids. It's always fun to talk about the Stupids.
Oh, and I think of Tommy. One more thing. I picked up Tommy Stupid's emo band with Sean Stern from Youth Brigade.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not a bad record. It sounds like Tommy Stupid heard Fugazi.
Yes.
And it sounds like Sean Stern who heard Fugazi, and they're like, let's start a transcontinental band that sounds like Fugazi. It's actually not a bad. I can see why it went nowhere,
right?
Because nobody cared about the Stupids or Youth Brigade by the time 1991 rolled around. But yeah, it's actually not a bad record.
Yeah. Beautiful. Right, Matt. What's your next pick?
Let's get to my my Michigan contribution to this evening. A lot of the great Michigan records, of course, have probably been covered at some point in time, so I'm going to dig a little deeper. Like when I first started going to shows in the mid 80s, I saw this band a handful of times. They were a local band. They would pop up, they would play. I saw them at like a benefit for like a dog shelter with a bunch of local, like, ne'er-do-well kind of bands in the Detroit area. Everybody wanted to be in a gang kind of thing or whatever. But these guys definitely stood out because well, they were definitely embraced by like the Detroit punk and hardcore community. They were definitely more crossover metal, speed metal, perhaps. I saw them probably the best show. I saw them play, I think, with Corrosion of Conformity once, but every other time I saw them, they basically played with just local bands. Depression Records, number 6.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Known for maybe Boom and the Legion of Doom at most. This is their only vinyl offering, and it's the Ugly But Proud.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nowhere.
Knuckle to Nowhere. Yeah.
I went back and listened to this a bunch, like over the past few weeks. It's so much better than I would have given it credit for in 1986 or whatever, because I actually really did not like metal in the late 80s. So I would have bought this and just filed it away. Somehow I kept it. Like I never got rid of it. And mainly because it's a Michigan record. And for me, that's just part of the collection. So I probably never will get rid of it. But I've gone back and listened to it a bunch. Parts of it are hokey as hell. Like the first song is called Death Clowns, and it starts off with like a circus song played like and it's really pretty painful. It's also got this amazing mascot who says, "I'll beat your ass."
Fish dude, I'll beat your ass. I was trying to remember that one.
Shark, yeah.
Yeah, the shark.
Will beat your ass.
3-piece band comprised of
like, fuck.
3-piece band comprised of Ugly Mike, Hideous George, and Proud Mark.
Yeah.
And then they had this fourth guy named King Zeus. And he would just come to their shows and he would sit like in a rocking chair or a lawn chair and provide like psychic, like I can't remember they would call like psychic uplift or something like that.
Wow.
And I actually looked these dudes up. They have a Facebook page like right now. I believe they might still be an active band. At least they were in like 2023.
Wow.
And King Zeus, whose real name was something like something weird, like Kim McCool or something like that, passed away in January of this year. So
rest in peace.
Yeah. This record, I mean, they probably couldn't have made more than 500 or 1,000 of them, but it was everywhere in Michigan, you know? Yeah, right. Dollar bin for sure. But really pretty solid. I mean, like it's good 80s crossover thrash speed metal with an occasional kind of nod to like the faster spastic, like kind of California thrash. The second song on the A-side, Split Personality, is actually like a really, really good song with like a good catchy chorus. And could have come out in any kind of like skate punk comp at the time, you know, like, yeah, I think they did do an LP in the night. I think it only came out on CD. It's called What's Wrong with Being Ugly or something like that. they redo a few. I think they redo a few songs off of this plus add a new. So I went back and I looked up the Tim Yohannan review of this.
I'd love doing this. Like, go. What did he say?
It's essentially the Maximum Rock and Roll 56 equivalent of shit sandwich. But he just says slow metal, speed metal, lots of guitar wanking, unimportant lyrics, a sure hit. Yeah. So, but yeah, just a cool little like weird. Like, there's a lot of Michigan bands from the 80s that put out a 7-inch that are really not worth talking about. But this band is, because one, they're not just a hardcore band. They're definitely more of a speed metal band. But they were fully embedded in like the 80s Detroit hardcore scene. And yeah, it's just different. Like, you know, it's fun. If you like metal, it's a weird little kind of like offshoot of what they were doing at the time. And yeah, I swear I think they're still around somehow. But
wow.
Weren't they a bunch of weirdos from Battle Creek who just would drive out to the Greystone and Blondies?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know where they were actually.
No, I'm pretty sure they were a Creeker band. Like I was pretty certain. Yeah, like
because they're on Depression, and Depression only put out Battle Creek and West.
Battle Creek band. Yeah.
And Western Michigan is fucking weird like that.
Yeah,
like ugly, like a band like Ugly but Proud could really only come from somewhere between Muskegon and Battle Creek.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's like
right.
a weird mutant part of the state.
Yeah. Where
This
was
is the kind of record, though, that given the title and the amazing "I'll beat your ass" Fish guy, has come up in conversation consistently.
Yes,
like with various people, with the Jeff Rice or whoever, since 1987. Like I've talked about this record like way more than I probably talked about the Necros or something like that.
Nice.
Rice, where was Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid Kids from? Weren't they like Creeker area?
Yes, they were Battle Creek.
Yeah.
Also an excellent speed metal band.
Derek,
like
that just got reissued, right? On FOAD, I think. Reissued it, right?
Yeah. I would put J2K2 as they went or whatever. Jim Jones, Kids. I would put them up there with Ugly But Proud in terms of being just utter weirdos playing kind of speed metal who could only get adopted by the hardcore scene.
Yeah,
like even though they weren't really hardcore bands, they were just they were too weird to be in the metal scene.
Discogs lists them as a Detroit band, but you know how that goes.
Yeah,
everybody. Detroit.
For sure, they're from Battle Creek. They that was like that weird time of mid '80s when there were so few punks and so few metalheads. We'd go see Ugly But Proud and J2K2 and get the shit beat out of us by a bunch of dirt stash. Like literally get like fucked up from going to metal shows. So like 16 suburban kids and like going to Comstock or something and getting wrecked by these guys, you know? Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
So, all right, Derek. What's it?
Matthias is good segue into metal.
Nice.
So this one, Pittsburgh band, not knowing a whole lot about them, kind of had seen the drummers, few other bands, super solid drummer. And then coincidentally, we had this Decibel Magazine Beer and Metal Fest here last weekend. I didn't think they were that big. Apparently they played on that stage with like Exodus and stuff. They've got a second or third new LP, but this is the first one. Vicious Blade, Siege of Cruelty.
Oh, okay.
Incredible record, like not too polished, but not too dingy. To me, like the production's super solid. The riffs are really catchy, has kind of a Testament feel to me. The newer record I think is good, but for me, this one is like, I like something a little bit more raw. Was it six songs total? Like pretty good length, 3 to 4 minutes per. And I believe everything's been self-released so far, but highly recommend it. Very, very good record. Yeah.
That's a great cover.
Yeah, super good cover. Yeah. Like the newer record cover looks a little bit more like you'd expect like Voivod or something, but to me this one's still more punk looking, you know. Yeah. Vicious Blade, yeah, from Pittsburgh. Drummer Kevin, I believe, is like super solid drummer. I think he was in Kim Fuck at one point. I might be mistaken about that, but
he was on this show like
a
year and a half ago.
Incredible drummer, super good drummer.
Yeah, that Copsucker LP has fucking been on rotation for
Isn't
me
it?
a while.
That was another one of those things I'd never heard of and just was blown away by how
so good.
Yeah. That was like Vicious Blade. I thought were kind of just like in our sphere of like DIY type stuff, and then seeing them on the bill for the Decibel Fest, and then seeing like some photos, and they just like incredible. The female singer like 3 feet off the ground, like super high jumps, big white Nike puffy sneakers, like super going for it. Yeah, highly recommended. And the new one too, I think is I'm forgetting the title, but the new LP is really solid also. Cool. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I remember liking that the first 12-inch, I think it is.
Yeah.
Was good stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Well, I'm going to change my order around a little bit to keep the metal theme kind of going. It's a bit of a stretch, but I think I can
put the pressure on Jeff.
Yeah. I don't got any more metal. I'm no more metal. Sorry.
Scurrying around for some. So this record like ousted like a much cooler, probably more popular record that I had originally to show tonight. But I found this on the way home last night, and I sold it when I moved to Japan, and I haven't owned it since then. And it was really nice to have it back. and I played it 3 times in a row last night, had some beers, and it took me back to 1988. I think it doesn't sound as metal now than it did to like punks back then, because anything that was even like a slightly bit metallic, like back in 87 or 88, was like, they've gone heavy metal, you know. But it doesn't sound as metal now as it did back then. But Italy, the furious years of Italian hardcore was over. Although Raw Power was still going, and they put out a record maybe in the same year, actually. I think this record is better than Raw Power's. After Your Brain? I think After Your Brain came out in 88. 89. No, Mine to Kill was the Raw Power record that came out in 89. I think this record is like better than that. It came out in 88. It's one of the old school Italian, like, furious eras bands that was still like soldiering on into the late 80s. I loved this record then. I think most people don't like it, and like they will probably rank this very low on this band's discography. Of course, I'm talking about fucking Negazione.
Oh yeah,
WAYLT Records.
Yeah.
Little Dreamer. Man, I loved this record when it came out. Like, and I don't know. It's like, and I love it now. I think it's aged really well. It's like, it still has like one foot in like Lo Spiritual Continua a little bit. It's still does have some of that manic hardcore, especially in the vocals, but yeah, it's kind of crossover. But they've also like, there's little bits in here that like kind of sound like Fugazi. It's kind of hidden a little bit, but there's like these little passages that kind of sound like they're noodling around with like Fugazi and like, you know, DC post-hardcore and like all the stuff that I was talking about for like in like late in Germany and like 88 and stuff. Like, you know, we're kind of tired of playing straightforward hardcore. We want to kind of do other things now. It's kind of got a lot of that in there too. It's kind of a weird record. Like there's a lot kind of going on underneath like the metal surface of it. Yeah, I mean, like the last 2 songs are acoustic, like, you know. But I mean, Articles of Faith did like an acoustic hardcore kind of song back. So it's been done. It gets a little funky, but even Heresy and bands like that are getting a little funky in like 87. Yeah, it's just a kind of mishmash and hodgepodge of everything that people don't like about like 1988, you know, hardcore, but somehow comes out, you know, in a record that I think is really good, and most people probably don't like. But yeah, maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia, but I love this record. I think it's great. But I will say I will not go any further than this with this band. This is they did get really bad after this. This is the sort of as far as I can go with this band. But yeah, I love it. It's like, you know, furious years of Italian hardcore meets all this like new stuff that's been coming in to sort of punk and stuff and post-hardcore.
I think the first time I ever heard of Negazione was they were touring with DOA and they played Detroit in I think probably 88, because this is when I first got into hardcore, 1988, and the review got written up in the Metro Times, which is a Detroit newspaper, and the reviewer just complained about them being too metal and that they had that the guitar player had a whammy bar.
It is, but it's like not. I mean, it's like kind of COC, Suicide. It's like 88. It's 1988. You know, these bands wanted to get a little metal, but it's not as metal as people thought it was in 1988. You know what I mean? It's like one of those kind of things. But I'm so happy to have this back, you know, on the shelf, and you know, most people I know like the really early Negazione, you know, the split with Indigesti and of course, I get that. I understand that completely. That, of course, they do. But as usual, I'm one of these weirdos that kind of likes the later era stuff. Yeah, Negazione, Little Dreamer, 1988, WAYLT Records, Germany. They were doing a lot of good stuff in the late 80s. WAYLT Records.
Yeah, I've passed that record up so many times, but yeah, now I'm curious to listen to it.
Have a listen to it.
Yeah,
don't take my word for it. Judge for yourself, as Heresy would have said. Yeah, Little Dreamer, Negazione. But you know, I've said it already, but I do think this is better than Mine to Kill by Raw Power, and apparently Wretched had an EP out in '88, which I'd never heard.
Never know.
It's not that. It's not a 12-inch, is it?
It's a 7-inch. It's called In Contra Luce.
Oh, I never got that.
I just quickly looked into it. It's like, what are all the the old Italian bands doing in 1988, and like not too much came up. So yeah, there you go. All right, Jeff, what's your metal?
Well, definitely not a metal band. It is a band that was very active in 1988, and it's one of the first bands I ever saw in Detroit. And this is a New York band that kind of maybe defies categorization, but yeah, I guess that they are on the New York thrash compilation. So I'm talking about the False Prophets self-titled album. Yeah. This is one of the like I said, one of the first bands I ever saw. And yeah, they on this album they have like one side that is mostly incredibly catchy, like 77 punk, and like maybe I wouldn't even say like hardcore, or maybe like whatever the 1980 or 81 version of hardcore was, where it's not super fast but getting pretty fast. Yeah, then there's some straightforward hardcore, and the rest of the record is just completely off the charts, I think, with like the last couple songs, like the second to last song on side one is the song Functional, which is kind of like a post-punk song that sounds like it could have been by Magazine or somebody like that. And there's even a musical theater sounding number called Marat Sad, which seriously sounds like it could have been in Les Miserables or something like that. It's really weird. Like, very show tunesy. Yeah. And then like side two is also all over the map. It's like a little bit of like definitely post-punk, a little bit of hardcore, but mostly like definitely way more on the post-punk side, and then getting kind of back into the musical theater sounding stuff with a very like I think the album Closer sounds like it could have been by Queen or something like that. Yeah, it's a weird record, kind of all over the map on Alternative Tentacles. And I feel like this band was kind of popular back then in the late 80s. Like they would play in front of pretty big crowds, and were pretty
I saw
well known.
them in like 80. It was in that era when talking about 87, 88, and they got Tony, Stupids, like that. The 80s, they played in Bristol like on a Wednesday or Thursday night. There wasn't many people there. I was not ready for them at that time. I just remembered the fingernails and the top hat.
Yes. When I saw them, he had fingernails that were probably 9 or 10 inches long, and had like the most a ridiculous hat of some kind. And we wanted them. Me and several other people in the crowd yelled out "Banana Split Republic."
The greatest song,
of course. Song. And then when Stephen Ilepi, the singer, says, "Nah, the lyrics on that are a bit outdated. We don't do it anymore." It also has a rap part in the middle of it. So I guess
rap breakdown, Banana Split Republic, legendary, man. Yes. The Blind Obedience 7-inch and that song off the Peace Comp, I've always been big fans of. I like that LP too, but it never really was like a regular rotation for me.
I've never owned any of their records.
This LP is, I believe, like kind of a collection of their 7-inches. Like
what's it called? Jeff? What's the name of the record?
False Prophets.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think most of side one is just all of their 7-inches.
Okay.
Except they recorded all of it.
Fun and Blind Obedience, right?
Yeah, Blind Obedience is on there. Overkill. It's Mental Get. It's a bunch. Yeah, it's a bunch of their 7-inch songs, but they re-recorded them. And then side two was all new songs like The Taxidermist, which is incredible song.
Yeah, Paul was saying he was a fan of the Taxidermist.
I feel like I feel like this record, I don't know, I feel like the False Prophets maybe get overlooked nowadays because you can't really pigeonhole them into any particular 80s genre. But I don't know. I think it's all really
there is like a sub theme here. It came up with the Castro. It came up like with just that era of like 87, 88 when people were starting just to do whatever they felt like doing. Yeah. Not just playing hard or whatever.
Highly recommended for, if only just for like the first 6 or 7 songs, which are great early punk stuff. Even if you don't like the more theatrical stuff, the first 6 or 7 songs are just really good late 70s, early 80s sounding punk and hardcore.
Yeah, I wish I could sort of go back and see them again with the me now instead of the sort of 19-year-old me who didn't get it yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what's your next pick?
All right. I'll save my one that probably would lead into the one pretty nicely, but I'm gonna save it for the end because it's too good. So I'm gonna take it up to back to the 2010s, I guess. When I pretty much played music from high school till like the early 2004 or 5. Took a pretty long break. Hadn't really touched my guitar in years. Came back to my guitar in 2017. And there were 2 records at that time, 2017, 2018, that I spent a lot of time listening to. One of them was the demo for the band Truth Cult from Baltimore. It's very, DC kind of vibes. Guitar player is incredible, Truth Cult. So I spent a lot of time listening to that. And the other one was this record. This is 2015 on Atomic Action Records, featuring, what's the dude's name from Fiddlehead? Patrick Flynn, right? So this is the Sweet Jesus, You Destroy Yourself LP.
Look at that.
Is that Nixon on the cover?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But, I mean, this record's fucking great. Like, so it's George from Drop Dead and Brother with Patrick Flynn and Sean Costa from like Fiddlehead and what's their big band? Have Heart. Doing kind of like a Swizz kind of vibe. Wow. I think people often refer to this as kind of like their Swizz band or whatever.
Wow.
But I think it's harder than that. I mean, it's DC, but like the harder side of DC, like the late 80s harder side of DC. There weren't many bands from DC doing that. But it's got that like real trademark like galloping guitar riff, that a Jason Farrell or even like maybe a Pete from Verbal Assault kind of perfected in the late 80s. I do think, if I remember right, I even think Sean Brown from Swizz adds some backing vocals to this on a song or two.
Wow.
But they had this LP, and then I think they have a 7-inch called Box, and then they did a Flexi where they just cover a Faith and a Void song. All really solid, but this record, front to back, to me is the instruments, the way they're recorded on this record are so perfect. Like I think we were talking earlier, like to me, the best death metal tone is like the guitar tone on Entombed Clandestine or whatever.
Yeah.
Like this record elicits sort of a similar response to me, and the bass and the sound of the bass on this record sounds so fucking good. The drums are just punchy and really well recorded. I mean, everything on this record is really well recorded, but those 2 instruments in particular, like really, really stick out. Perfect, very heavy. A very short-lived band. And you can tell that I guess Patrick was probably going through some shit when he wrote the lyrics for this song, because they're very introspective, personal, and like, either he's good at role playing that or he was in the middle of something. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is one of the best like DC sounding records of the last like 10 years. And particularly that really good style of DC where like you're talking Swizz or something along those lines. So great record. All the guys from Wrong War, like we listened to this record fucking nonstop for couple of years before we ever wrote a single song, I think. So like big influence. Part of the reason why we sought out Atomic Action to help us release the first 12-inch was because of this record.
Wow.
So yeah.
Is it anywhere near like Red Hair?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay, that was an amazing discovery. Like I didn't.
If you like Red Hair, Swizz, or even that Sweet Belly Freakdown LP they did, you'll love this. I mean, it's really almost like, I mean, soulful Swizz or something. I mean, the dude really is putting his like whole guts into this song, and then musically it just sounds fucking perfect. Like, yeah, really like this song. Even the kind of, there's like one track on here that's like maybe a kind of a slow meandering jam with some samples over it, but even that is just like a great song in the middle of like, 9 Other Ragers or something.
Wow.
So yeah,
now, let's get the name of the band and the name of the record like one more time.
What's called You Destroy Yourself. The band is Jesus. Yeah.
Wow.
There's like several pressings of this record. I think Revelation had a specific pressing of it, and I think Atomic Action probably pressed it 3 or 4 times. I don't know if it's still in print, but it probably is.
Wow.
Man, I never even heard of that. That's
Me
awesome.
neither.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either.
Yeah. It's been one of my favorite records, I'd say, the last 10 years, probably, for sure.
Wow.
And the Swizz, or not the Swizz, the Faith Void Flexi that they did is really good too. Like, just they nail both of those songs. The EP or the 7-inch, the box one, I don't think that's as good as this LP. This LP is far more realized as like a songwriting, I think. So, but yeah, great fucking record. Highly recommended.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, Derek, what's your pick?
All right, so here, next one, total good surprise, not knowing anything going into it. Read somewhere a review, Ken from Prank Records put it in his top 25 or top of 2024 from Athens, Greece. I can't read Greek or understand the lyrics. I'm sure they're rippers. Good. Good, solid, like kind of not anybody in those bands, but Totalitar type of feel. Like no duds in the whole thing. 9-song LP. Plectani. Anybody knows anything about them? Dig into it in the comments. What's that?
Pass it to your left.
Yeah.
To your left. Yeah.
Pass it.
Pass it to your left, man.
Well, you can't see it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, gosh, shit.
You crazy fools.
All right, Matt. Again, add to it, Matt, if you want. But yeah, this record to me.
Not one of my picks. I was actually going to pick this as my first pick because I knew you were going to pick this record.
Yeah, this record's incredible. I
Right.
love it.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it outside of they're from Athens, Greece. Everything's in Greek.
How do you say the band name, Derek? Do you have any idea?
Plectani.
Plectani? Okay.
Yeah. Unless I'm butchering that, somebody can chime in, but that's how I've heard it pronounced. Again, Ken Sanderson said it was in his top 2024. That guy's pretty much dead on with everything he suggests. So ordered it. I think I got it from Phobia, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a release, but in their distro, and really, really good record. Yeah.
Wow.
Don't know much about it.
I bought it off of your recommendation. Like, I think you sent it to me on Instagram or something, and I'm like, I listened to it one day in the car, and I was like, fuck. I ordered it like the next day. So.
Yeah. Solid record.
What are we talking like music wise? D-beat?
Like, definitely to me has like from Totalitar strain, like that sound, but a little bit beefier to me, a little bit more intricate. One of the best Totalitar knockoffs I thought was Herodes. Like that was one of my favorite bands, 2010 era. And like, even though it's blasphemous, I feel in some ways Herodes did Totalitar even better than Totalitar did it. And I feel Plectani's kind of in the same thing. Like, you know where they're coming from, but they're unique enough to be like, yeah, this band's on their own thing. They've got their own sound. Like, they're paying respect to the origin, but they're doing it right on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Fast,
good hooks, like lots of good catchy guitar hooks. I think one guitar, but I'm not mistaken, but definitely double tracks in the recording, like very, very melodic, but fast and hard hitting.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, you're right about Ken. He has he's
Always picks a winner. Yeah.
he knows what's up. He knows
He
what's up.
knows what's up.
He knows what's up. Do I know what's up? Let's find out in round 5. Okay, honestly, to tell the truth, this week I could have picked 5 John Rice or Rice related records because I mean, honestly, the new Swami John Rice record has just like blew my head off. I don't know if any of you guys have checked it out yet.
You talked about that last week, right?
I did, and because of that, I've kind of been going back, right? I'm kind of going back and getting a bit sort of like a deep dive, like you know, some of his bands I haven't listened to for a while. I mean, Rocket from the Crypt is pretty much kind of a staple, so I didn't go back to Rocket from the Crypt. But Matt, I'm going to just say this again. If you're sort of doubting that John Rice could put out an amazing record in 2025, do not doubt it. This is an incredible record. But that's not my pick. This is like last week's pick. I talked about it last week. But so it made me go back and pull out some old records like the Night Marchers and various other things. But I'm going to go for this one. This is one of the ones that I kind of pull out the least. It's kind of slightly different. It's 25 years old already, which kind of blows my mind. It came out on Swami and Sympathy for the Record Industry. It's never been reissued. It's probably one of the rawest records that he's done and played on. It's fucking great. It's the Sultan's Ghost Chip.
Oh yeah.
Record. Look at that thing. Look at that.
The cover is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it kind of okay. So he plays bass on this, so you don't get his guitar magic, you know. But the other guy from Rocket from the Crypt plays guitar, so you get a bit of magic, but not the full magic. Like it's real, like it's like the most raw and stripped down thing that he's done, I would say. It's almost like undercooked if you're used to like John Rice, you know. It's like, wow, they went like super raw and super garagey with this. Like it's like they just knocked it out in the studio like in an afternoon. There's a lot of songs. There's like, was it 16 to 18 songs on it? No horns. I'll double down on this, like in the John Rice new record. A lot of people don't like horns. This is definitely a horn-free zone. So don't be afraid. But this has never been reissued. It deserves a reissue. It's pretty killer. I mean, this guy is like, he just appreciates the history of rock and roll and knows how to write fucking amazing songs with incredible hooks in all of his bands. You know, you've got the 60s rock and roll, the 77 punk. There's always like a bit of AC/DC kind of ZZ Top swagger in what he does, whether you kind of notice it or not. He just knows how to rock, you know. Right? And you know, and I just saw an interview with him when he was kind of going on about like the Battalion of Saints. Like he loves the Battalion of Saints, you know, San Diego, you know. But yeah, this is sort of definitely one of his rawest bands. And he calls himself Slasher. That's his name. You know, he gives like nicknames to himself, like, you know, Tiger or Speedo. On this record, he goes by the name of Slasher, and he's wearing an eye patch on the photo. Come on, you gotta love that, you know. What's not to love about a guy called Slasher wearing an eye patch and a pirate ship? Yeah, it's kind of hard to get, and this does need a reissue. It desperately needs a reissue. But,
yeah, I've never even seen that one before.
They have another record that only came out on CD, like after this, which is fine. But I mean, yeah, this is absolutely like just killer, like raw.
So is that from 2000?
It's from 2000. Yeah,
yeah.
25 years old already. It's wild.
I don't think I didn't start really knowing or seeing any of his bands until when I moved to San Diego. I think in 2005. I was completely ignorant of him up until that point.
Well, it's also like if you think like some of his stuff is like too well produced, or sometimes he does that very discordant kind of thing, you know, like Yahoo, or you know, none of that. It's just straightforward, raw, like garage punk rock and roll, 3-piece. You can listen to it on YouTube. But, yeah, I've been going down a rabbit hole because of this. Yeah, that's what a guy. What a guy. You know, one of the greats.
Yeah, I think I saw Night Marchers and Hot Snakes, and but I think those are the only two bands I've seen of his, but they're fantastic live.
Yeah. All right, that's my last pick. What do you got, Jeff? What's your
Okay, so see if anybody can guess what this is. This is a absolutely blistering hardcore record from, I'd say 1991, and it has more samples than music on it.
Oh Christ!
Blistering American hardcore record from 91.
Is it?
That is
Oh,
you got it. You got it.
Sorry.
yes.
Oh yeah, it's all,
Still Life by Andy
that's for
Schism.
me.
That's for me.
That's for me.
Yeah, this is a fantastic record. It's a hardcore record, but recorded by WAYLT and Tears in New York City, who recorded a lot of like kind of big alternative rock bands back then and grunge bands. But this thing sounds fantastic. Anti-Schism get lumped in with anarcho-punk and crust punk, but they're not really either of those things. These guys, I would say Anti-Schism sound kind of more like a weird American hardcore band like Die Kreuzen or something like that, where there's a lot of crazy effects on the guitars. The bass has a wah-wah pedal on it, so they're not really sounds you would hear on an anarcho-punk record very frequently, and definitely not on a crust record. And if you've probably heard them, they're kind of overwhelmed with vocals. There's three vocalists on this record, and the songs have a ton of words that are very like much in the kind of earth first, ultra environmentalism kind of thing that was big back then. And the problem with this LP that really waters it down is that there's literally more audio from the movie Roger and Me than there is from the band.
Yeah.
There's also more audio from the movie The Big Chill than there is from the band, and there's also more audio from like local news reports. So there's like more samples on this album. There's probably like 6 minutes of totally blistering, over the top, fast hardcore. That's really well done, and then probably 9 minutes of sound bites from movies that are only tangentially related to the lyrical content. Kind of a head scratcher.
Did I I wouldn't have dreamt this. I'm not that weird. But did that get reissued with less samples because they couldn't get them cleared the next time around or something?
Yes,
like
it
The original song. Yeah.
Okay.
It's on Allied, right? Right.
Yeah, it's Allied Records. It's got the usual John Yates layout. Very slick looking. This is probably the second or third thing on Allied, probably after that Neurosis 7-inch they put out. And I think the first thing was that Warzone 7-inch, not the New York City Warzone, the San Francisco Warzone, and the Neurosis Empty 7-inch. And I think this Anti-Schism record was probably the third thing they put out.
We had an Allied pick last week, the No Means No 7-inch, Oh Canada, right? That was on last week.
Okay.
Yeah, that's on Allied. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Not one of my picks, but it was in consideration. Was the J Church She Wouldn't Sacrifice on Allied?
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I guess this band I think gets kind of overlooked because of their they were like a patch band or something in the 90s, and they also
that All Their Money Stinks of Death shirt was like everybody had that,
yeah. But I don't know. I think musically they're just heads and shoulders above all that stuff. I'd much rather listen to them than like Extinction by Nausea, which is just kind of like
I don't know.
Really,
Come on, Extinction's a good fucking record, man.
I liked Extinction when I got it for sure, but it's got that horribly compressed sound on it, and I think
we had some fun banter about that record on the Facebooks yesterday. Nausea record.
It's if you're looking If you're looking for
Is that
fast, rapid fire, male, female vocals, hardcore, I think Anti-Schism is they were the best ones doing that in the late 80s and early 90s. I believe they go back to 89.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That first 7-inch cover, yeah.
before or after that Thinning the Herd split with who's that band? Subvert, maybe?
Subvert. This is I believe the Anti-Schism Subvert split came out before this.
Okay. I like that record quite a bit too. And
yeah.
There's that.
That's
There's the All Your Money Stinks to Death 7-inch, and there's the other 7-inch, like the pink cover, like a building on it or something. I think that's later though.
End of time.
Yeah,
End of time.
Yeah.
Did you guys?
Schism.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the show at the Capitol Theater that night with Anti-Schism? And we all got fucking jumped by all the gangsters leaving the show.
I was Born Against Rorschach and Anti-Schism, right?
Rorschach, Anti-Schism, and there was only like 40 of us, so the show was actually on the stage versus on the floor.
Social Outcasts and Civil
that's right.
also played.
Yep.
Michigan's.
Yep.
All right. Nice. What are we doing next? Matt's last pick. There we go. That J check. Right. Yeah, that's
the Bomb, and She Said She Wouldn't Sacrifice are two of the greatest songs. I love that 7-inch so much. Like one of my kind of bucket list things was to work with Yates. So we had Yates do the first 2 Wrong War record designs, and I got to talk to him about that Anti-Schism record and that J Church record way too much. So all right, so I can't come on here without doing something like a Gleaming Spires or something weird.
There you go.
This is gonna make Jeff Rice super fucking happy. But I'm gonna go back first, right? Like, so we're talking about late 80s crossover, speed metal. So let's talk about a label that released early Slayer, DRI crossover, Fate's Warning. Also did punk bands like TSOL, the Vandals. Then they start getting a little weird. Put out a bunch of records by Diamanda Galus. And then this incredible piece of wax that surprisingly I did not realize is very fucking expensive on Discogs right now. And that is 1989's The Big Problem Is Not the Solution. The Solution is
Yes.
By Crispin Hellion Glover, the actor.
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Whoa.
Such a good record.
Wow.
This record is like mixtape gold in like the 80s and 90s.
Wow.
It's fucking weird. It's half of it is him just reading from books that he wrote, which are really nonsensical, out there, weird kind of, stream of conscious kind of writing. And then the other songs are like he recruited this duo, Barnes and Barnes, who wrote most of the music. They were from like the Dr. Demento kind of like world. Yeah. And they cover like These Boots Are Made for Walking, the Man on the Flying Trapeze, Charles Manson's Never Say Never to Always. But there are a couple of original. What's that?
Clowny
Clown and Auto Manipulator are worth it. Just those two tracks. Auto Manipulator is like the worst fucking white guy 80s rap song you've ever heard in the world about masturbating, and it's pretty fucking genius. Like this record, this is the kind of record where you put on, I have to listen to it all the way through, even the spoken word stuff. One thing I didn't realize until just now is that on one of the Oak Mott readings, which is only like 25 seconds long, the background music is Weird Al Yankovic doing the music. I didn't realize that until I looked up the credits for it.
Wow.
But yeah, just a weird fucking record that, most of us in Michigan were hip to, like in the early 90s, just because of its weirdness. And
a lot of my friends own that. Like Sean Gates played that for me the first time, and then we listened to your band.
Sort of very much like a Sean Gates, Tyler Davis kind of thing. Like, I don't remember who exactly turned me on to it or when I bought it or anything, but it's ridiculous and worth listening to on YouTube, particularly Auto Manipulator, Clowny Clown Clown. The other song in here that's super stupid.
Yeah, Clowny. Everybody in the audience here, watch the Clowny Clown Clown video. It is weirder than anything Devo ever did.
Yeah. And that's probably a good comparison. The other thing that's awesome about this record is that on the back it says, all words and lyrics point toward the big problem. The solution lie within the title, Let It Be. Crispin Helene Glover wants to know what you think about these 9 things and what they have in common. Please call, and it has a phone number. Now, I would not be a good analog attack researcher if I didn't try to call that phone number today. I called it just 2025 to see what happened, and it says it is restricted. It just says this number is now restricted, and it gives some weird code, and that's it. So I was hoping Crispin Glover might answer, but not the case. So
that's amazing. That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
He did that.
You did that.
He also did that weird movie like 5-10 years ago with an all autistic cast that was essentially a porno and got a bunch of shit for it. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah.
He
did that movie, and he did a movie called Ruben and Ed that was really good.
Yeah.
That was back in the 90s. Oh, and someone in the chat referenced his David Letterman appearance.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I missed that.
That kind of like crushed his acting career for
he nearly kicked David Letterman in the face, like came within inches of.
I saw that clip randomly like last week. It came up. That's just for some reason on the YouTubes.
So the boots were made for walking cover is great, and I do have most of his. I tried to find them, but God knows where they are. They're the little half-size books of like rat catching and Oakmont. Like I have most of the books that he put out that the readings are from on here. But yeah, a weird dude, definitely living outside of Hollywood's circle, and just kind of who knows, like I would love to meet the person that greenlit this record on Restless in 1989, because I don't know who thought this was a good idea, but let's just say that Restless Enigma went very bankrupt not long after that. Well, the amount of records that a label like Restless put out between like 85 and 89 is like astronomical. Like they must have put out like 4 records a week or something, like really crazy. So, but if you've never heard this thing, spend a little time with it on YouTube. I think it's like $75-$80 on Discogs, which I was sort of like, I figured this record, like people would just be giving it away, but I guess not.
One of those.
Yeah. I believe that Restless and Enigma was just 2 LA rich kids blowing a $35 million loan from EMI.
Wow.
Which explains it.
Nice.
Amazing. I'm going to Disc Union later. I'll be on the lookout for that one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Derek.
Alrighty. So not as weird.
What you got?
Not as weird as Matt's record, but we'll get a little bit weird. So next one, 2 dudes, I believe, from Athens, Georgia. Kind of more of the modern sound of goth stuff. Stuff I've been listening to lately, like Cold Cave. Not quite Cold Cave-esque, but I feel more than that than like 80s, like first wave goth. Record is 6 tracks. Almost all synthesizer samples and keyboard, but Twin Tribes Ceremony, which to me is second best record, first one being Monolith. What I like about this band is that it's not super slow or super drony, like everything's relatively upbeat. The other thing for bands like this that I like is actually visuals, and they do some really killer like DIY type of videos, like music videos that go along with stuff, and it's all YouTube based, really solid. So this one's got a couple of slower tracks, but most of it's pretty upbeat, pretty dark. Almost reminds me of like Amoebix, if Amoebix got super deep into it's a modern goth sound. But yeah, Twin Tribes, and Christy and I are finally going to see them next month. Looking forward to it. Them and this other band, Boy Harsher, which is pretty solid band as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Boy Harsher, really good.
Yeah, what turned me on to them is that they did a homage video to the original "Let the Right One In," and it's like a music video that "Let the Right One In" for one of their tracks. Pretty solid. But yeah, pretty certain two guys from Athens, Georgia. I think this is the second or third record. Again, kind of like more upbeat but modern goth stuff, and yeah, pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. We did finally get to go see Cold Cave the other week, last weekend, and they were fucking awesome. The scene was totally weird. Like it was all old hardcore dudes, ex-hardcore guys because of American Nightmare, and then like Hot Topic punks. It was very fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's more. Is it more like in the gothic vein as opposed to like kind of post-punk? More.
It is like where I think what Boy Harsh would be almost more post-punk sounding or more like ambient sounding. Like Twin Tribes is definitely goth sounding, but not like slower or droning like Bauhaus or something like that. Like it's very synthesizer driven, very sample driven, and more upbeat and like across the board, I would say. Yeah.
Cool.
Were you asking me the other day about that New York band Lathe of Heaven? Was that you?
Yeah. So Lathe of Heaven, I still feel has more probably like a post-anarcho like punk sound going into goth. This is like there's no punk roots to Twin Tribes. Like I think it's just coincidental that they kind of have a Amoebics feel, just like the slower, like atmospheric like intros on Amoebics and stuff. No punk background to this band. Definitely not similar to Laves of Heaven, but like I don't know, the feels there, but the music's a lot different to me. Yeah.
I bought the first Lathe of Heaven the other day, kind of used. It's kind of it's pretty like hard hitting. It's not
hard.
It's not quite like Bad Breeding, like hard hitting, but it's pretty punk. It's pretty punk record, like punk.
Yeah, I like their stuff quite a bit.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I do too. This one, Twin Tribes, I would say is different. Like a lot of 4/4 like song structures, and again, almost everything's like keyboard, but solid. And the lyrics, the vocals are really good too. The vocals are really well structured.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've got a request in the comments. Mr. Paul Bear wants us to do the random pull. We don't have to talk about it. We can just do it all together. We'll show around. But he always, yes. Well, let's do it. Let's do it. So like,
I might have to cheat because I don't have all my records.
I kind of know where I kind of know where I'm sat, so I kind of can almost guess what's going to come out. But all right, yes, all right. On the one, 1, 2, 3. Show your random pull, and then we'll see what we've got. Okay, ready? All right, 1, 2, 3. Show. Wow, look at that. So I've got John Lee Hooker, Detroit Special. There you go.
Dick Diver, New Start Again on
Here I'm gonna move on, Stay Strong, Battle with Donkey Kong. I'm talking about the Doggy Style.
That Doggy Style record has a great fucking track on it though.
Sweater. It's fucking good, man.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Misfits, Descent into Evil, which I think is some weird live record. Yeah, Urban Plaza live record on Plan 9.
Nice. You got.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy with mine. I played this for a while. Detroit.
This was Brian Baker plays on this record. So Brian Baker has been mentioned 3 times.
Yep,
This was going to be my
Brian Baker.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Man, that was a lot of fun. Derek, you had a good birthday hanging out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good time, everyone. All right.
Best birthday you've ever had, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. Hey, it was a good chat this evening. Thanks for tuning in. We had a great time, great picks, great banter. There's going to be a show next week, of course, as there always is. Got a couple of newcomers next week. John Villegas is back, a regular. Joining him is going to be Robert Collins and Spinach, the legendary Spinach from Assuck and other bands. It's going to be an interesting show, I think. Next Friday, April 25th, 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be another great time. It's always a good time. We're probably going to carry on chatting afterwards for my Patreon content. Yeah. All right, we're going to sign off. Everyone, have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other. And stay healthy. And please, I beg of you, stay clean.